Shri Matre Namaha. Om Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha. Ramayana is an ideal epic poem to all the periods, all the ages, from all the four ages, all yugas. Because Ramayana contains such a strong and powerful characters which reflects towards the generation to generations to follow their ideology. In such a way, the sage Valmiki depicted Ramayana in a wonderful manner. You should salute to his lotus feet. Ramayana was translated in all the languages of the world. It is one of the great epic poems. Nothing can be seen other than Ramayana. Everything can be hidden in Ramayana only. In such a way, we have to understand the various characters and their features thoroughly. By that way, we can understand the value of the epic poem and skills of or extraordinary achievement of the sage Valmiki. In this way, Valmiki Ramayanam took an exalted place, will take also an exalted place in the future. It is forever, everlasting. So basing on these things, I want to give you the detail of Ramayana, the spirit of sisterhood. Let us go through this prayer. Hiranyareta durdarsho Girisho Nagha Bhujanga Bhushano Bargo Giridhanva Giripriyaha. We often see Ramayana as an exposition of an ideal brotherhood where the inherent affection among brothers and respect and regard for elder siblings are never totally sacrificed for selfishness, power of greed, the theme of which runs across through four sets of brothers: Rama and his three brothers, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna, Vali and Sugriva, Jatayu and Sampati. And finally, we can come to the conclusion of Ravana and his two brothers, Kumbhakarna and Vibhishana. And against this grand symbolism of brotherhood are interspersed the little stories of women and subtle stream of sisterhood, mostly relegated to be buried under the massive heft of the larger themes in the Ramayana, while struggling for cognizance as they refashion the narrative to reveal a series of stories of women. While the Ramayana provides an in-depth and multi-layered exploration of brotherly love, there is a nuanced undercurrent of the theme of sisterhood and women's solidarity, lest we forget that Ramayana is a story not essentially of Rama and heroism, but also Sita. And through Sita, we meet a brave world of remarkable women, some griftly, some gracious, some maleficent, all minor characters playing major roles. And through each one of them in their relationship with Sita is told a story of sisterhood. It starts with Sita and her sisters, who are the Urmila, Mandavi, and Shrutakirti. They are three sisters, all brought up together in the lap of love and luxury, but most importantly, under the tutelage of a sagacious man called King Janaka. He is a raj-rishi, the philosopher-king, who used to hold annual philosophical conferences in his court. It is in such a world of scholarship and intellect, debates, and reasoning that the four girls are brought up in Mithila. They are sisters by blood, Sita being an adopted child, notwithstanding, and the sisterhood holds a certain significance as these four girls later get married to the four princes of Ayodhya. The four weddings brings them closer while immediately altering their equation. From little wives, from sisters, they become sisters in law as well. But like the four brothers, their sisterly love too is unique. As the four princesses get slowly enmeshed in royal intrigue, power, and politics, the bond between them does not disinterest but gets stronger. As Sita leaves for the forest to join Rama in his exile, so starts a private 14-year exile for each of the sisters as well. Urmila awaits Lakshmana's return. Mandavi remains in palace of Ayodhya as her husband Bharata resides at a hut in Nandigram, waiting to return Ram his throne. Shrutakirti stays in the royal palace, living a life of celibacy like her husband Shatrughna. Though a mere mention, but it depicts the evolving nature of sisters' relationship as they grow and mature. The four weddings bring them closer while immediately altering their equation. As Sita is considered the major role in Ramayana, altering their equation from little girls into little wives, from sisters they become sisters-in-law as well. But like the four brothers, this sisterly love too is unique. As Sita moves from the place to Ayodhya to the forest, she starts a new life, meeting a range of new people, situations, and experiences, and most importantly, different women who help from the stories in her narrative of self discovery. As Sita meets one woman after another, the minor woman characters of Ramayana, she questions her own situation, her identity, and the complexities of the idea of love and royalty, duty and doubts. Both Lopamudra, the wife of Rishi Agastya, and Anasuya, the wife of Maharshi Atri, caution her on the life and responsibility she was taken on, while Anasuya gives her an ointment to maintain her beauty and gives her advice on satitva and chastity. Lopamudra informs Sita about different spices and herbs for cooking, health, and healing wounds. A glimpse of the very feminine camaraderie between women. Their voices speaking to one another powerfully reinforce a spirit of sisterhood that contrasts from the Ramayana of rivalry and revenge. As Sita is hurtled from a life of serenity in the forest to war and violence in Lanka, she meets Mandodari, the queen and wife of Ravana, her abductor. In Mandodari, Sita finds a silent but strong support which she needs to survive in her golden prison. It is Mandodari who uses her skills of persuasion and eloquent speech, love, caution, and reprimand with Ravana while leading dignity to Sita in her imprisonment, and to also in due course save Sita's life. Between them is a strange but strong connect of shared conditioning, experiences, and concerns, unaffected by the material concerns and corruptions that define women's characters and lives otherwise. The demoness god Trijata for Sita in her saviors, in her worst moments of captivity, and over time she becomes Sita's confidant and the only close relationship she develops in her seemingly endless days of confinement. Though cast as Ravana's agent, Trijata is the one friend and loyal companion of Sita in her adversity. From offering words of solace and wisdom to being a messenger of news from the world outside to the lowest moments when she dissuades Sita from killing herself. In some versions, besides Trijata, Sharama, wife of Vibhishana, and Kala or the other Rakshasi benefactors, Sita had each molding a bond of unusual companionship and safeguarding. In each of these associations and interactions, Sita forges a sisterhood with other women. Their solidarity is an imperceptible link, a journey of her self-discovery, from self-effacement to selfhood, of a certain emancipation and rebellion of different kinds. It is not merely a connect, it is an interconnect developed with love and support, patience and interest, and reciprocity. Sita forges a sisterhood with other women. The solidarity is an perceptible link, a journey of her self discovery from self effacement of selfhood. Deep sisterly love, Urmila, Mandavi, Shrutakirti, can pave the way to conflicts in troubled times. Mandodari, but there are strangers who become friends, even protectors called Trijata, Sarama, Kala, and some who are wise counselors, Lopamudra, Anasuya, until all is reconciled. In other words, perhaps the different shades of sisterhood in the Ramayana remind us of a different dimensions of solidarity and unanimity and harmony that can exist among women, a loyalty, a connect greater than friendship, which is unconditional and forever. While we find the ocean of brotherly love in the Ramayana, there are only few drops of sisterly love. Through four princes of Mithila and also through some minor characters like Mandodari and Sumitra, Kane explores the little moments of woman bonding hiding under the heavy layers of men bonding. We fall upon many such examples, and to mention a few, the fervent brotherly love between Rama and his brothers, Jatayu and Sampati, Nala and Neela, and we also get to see strong bond of comradeship like one between Rama and Hanuman. These are some proclaimed sects of how amity and brotherhood should be, what we say, considered a great level. These are some proclaimed sets of how amity and brotherhood should be, and how can one imbibe to be selfless and devoted brother or a friend. But we faintly catch the sight of the same, what we say, prioritization of sisterhood, and it gets weakened by the better and acclaimed themes. The high spirit of sisterhood is visible. When everybody loathed Manthara for her act, but Kaikeyi does not blame Manthara solely for the course of events. We see Kaikeyi scrutinizing herself. She says, and finally Manthara, I never imagined that someone whom I loved and trusted from childhood would give me advice that I would bring about my downfall. She was exposing for herself and not for my cause. And while her poisonous words washed over my head, I found myself actually believing her. And those struck me, could Manthara have poisoned my mind if there was no fault in me? No greed, no folly, no jealousy, no vanity. The villainy must have always been latent in my heart. She understood that nobody can corrupt your mind if there is not a single drop of malice reside in you. She confirms to Manthara being one of the reason, but not the only reason behind her misdeeds. Hence, we see that despite of blaming others for the place, women accountable for the fate they face. At a larger canvas, women are usually portrayed women's enemies, being rivals or stepping in one another's way. We have been fed with the stories of women enmity, and so we started believing in the phrase that a woman's worst enemy. They are rarely depicted backing and supporting each other. There is an urge of talking about sisterhood as we fight about women's rights, talk of equality, right of feminism, but it should not happen superficially. All the moments work of writings are fruitful only when they bring slightest change. Therefore, it is important that they help people understand the issues as well as make them understand the need of changes to be made. Therefore, what Sita's sister does to the readers is splendid and significant. It shows a woman confronting, supporting, speaking, fighting, backing, and coming to the aid of, help of, assistance of another woman. The novel shows women companionship in a new light. It tells us that rather than blaming others for placing us in a situation, we should introspect that why could they manipulate us? As one possesses through the first two pages of the book, Sita's confusion and her uneasiness on meeting a lot of these other women who were abandoned by their husbands, or some becomes oddly interesting or intriguing. Volga takes us through Sita's innocent questions about the injustice done to these women, to Rama's confounded silence on all of them. At this moment, one can draw parallels with her questions today with the feminist movement's challenges to the continuance of patriarchal society, trying to shake up the very notions that systematically subjugate women. One of the major contributions of this book is it has promoted the idea of sisterhood, much less known than the oft celebrated idea of brotherhood, usually described as jealous and resenting other women. Olga's depiction of women is a break from this absurd myth. Sita meets some of these women, Shurpanaka for example, and immediately impulsive with them, equating her own hardships like trial by fire with the tribulations of others. Olga's description of Surpanaka portrays her in a way that one cannot help but feel overwhelmed. Usually described as jealous and resenting other women, Olga's depiction of women is a break from this absurd myth and promotes sisterhood. A woman from Demon clan, working at the orders of her brother, learned to love herself the way she is. Shurpanaka's face, being disfigured by Lakshmana, led her into discovering her that there is more than one way in which a woman could be could love beyond her physical beauty through her creations of art, her belongingness with nature, and just realizing her worth as a complete individual. Surpanaka, while being lonely in the tangible world, was content through the true realization of the self. This theme of meditation, a spiritual connect women find within themselves after being humiliated and worsted by men in their lives, is a common streak throughout the book, and words fail to describe how beautifully Olga has depicted all their journeys. Consider Ahalya being fraudulently led by Indra to sleep with her in the guise of her husband. She is labeled as unchaste and worsted by Gautama, and despite being innocent, for being violated by a man without her consent. Renuka Devi's experience is particularly appalling on so many levels. She was ordered to be beheaded, cutting off head, by her husband, and her son does so at his father's insistence. This was because Renuka Devi apparently looked at a man for which she was labeled as unchaste by her husband. Only when her husband's fury subsided, he ordered his son Parashurama to stop with the beheading, but scaring Renuka Devi for life as she was betrayed by the two men she had dedicated her life for. Renuka tells Sita that it is totally futile for women to make men the entire of their lives because she had been deceived by both her husband and son on a ridiculous pretext, and women remain the subjects of male apathy to matter what. She talks about her wifehood, motherhood being besmirched by these men who thought they were the flag bearers of Dharma. Instead, women must strive to find their own identities, to do something worthwhile with their own lives. That is a fulfillment. Sita too realizes this later in her life when her sons wish to leave her to live with their father Rama. One of the reasons why Olga wrote this book was to make Ramayana relevant in the modern context where women have explicitly started to no longer tolerate intellectual or physical oppression to conform to any mythological impressions of femininity. She understands that epics like Ramayana have been caused or used by Upper Easts to subjugate women for several centuries. Moreover, women being the battle grounds for men to wage their wars in a common underprinting in our important mythological stories. Men fighting to protect their wives, waging wars for gesturing their wives, honor them, putting them through trials. To prove their loyalty is a reality even today in different ways. Sita was well educated, and the legend says she could easily lift a bow nobody else could. However, an epitome of perfection, daughter of Mother Earth, still reduces to her role as a wife spent on an eternity in the service of her husband, only to realize that she could never have been happy in the mortal world. When her husband abandoned her, she dedicated her life in raising their sons, only to hear them praise their father's valor and nobility and leave her to live with them. She understands that epics like Ramayana have been used by upper castes to subjugate women for several centuries. However, it's also important to understand that a woman's liberation is not merely in her disentanglement from the material world. The shackles of Arya Dharma around him remained a barrier in his liberation from these worldly roles that never made him happy. श्रीकांताय कल्याण निधे निधेन्द्रम श्री वेंकटनिवासाय श्रीनिवासाय मंगल मंगलाशासनमय मुदाचार्य पुरोगमे सर्वैश्च पूर्वैराचार्य सत्कृतायास्तु मंगलम्.